Now joined by the winner of today's O'Reilly Auto Parts 500, Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is his record 7th Cup win at Texas Motor Speedway. His 6th victory in the last 10 races here at the Speedway. He moved into sole possession of 2nd for most wins here at the track behind Kyle Busch, who has 13. Your first win of the season for Hendrick Motorsports, and this is the 4th different track where you have 7 or more victories. I guess, first off, more importantly, how are you feeling?
Much better now. I thought I got my heat issues. I got out of the car and I was really hot and felt much better there and was on the right path, I felt like. And then I was doing an interview with Claire and I felt my back lock up and then my chest and my arms, and I was starting to cramp everywhere. So that was an immediate trip to the Info Care Center to get some IVs. So had 3 bags of IV and feeling a ton better now.
First, talk about the challenges. There was a lot of unknowns, but you guys answered them. It's obviously Texas is a track that just you guys have success at.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that we won here. I feel like whenever there's a repave, I think it doesn't fit my style. I suffer more than anyone. I also feel like it kind of lends itself to the new guys coming in, the brave ones, the ones that haven't hit many walls yet, and to go out and score one for the old guys today feels pretty good.
We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you could raise your hand. We'll start off with Jerry, and then we'll go Joe, Bob, and then Brant.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net, Performance Racing Network. 2 weeks ago, you burned me down at California for asking a question. I guess you're washed up, has been. Obviously, rally from the back today. Talk about your run.
Just a great race car, and it was nice to really execute all day long. I think we've just been trying too hard. We won the championship obviously last year, and feel like we have good cars and want to come out and be aggressive. And to dial in right at 100% is just tough to do. And pit road speeding violations, spinning out, crashes, all those things, just not executing cleanly as a group put us where we were. And then to come out today and really face a lot of adversity, starting last, the way stage 2, the strategy worked out. I think I restarted 21st, and then to be able to drive from there all the way up to 2nd, there's a lot of close calls with traffic and lappers. The groove was very, very narrow, and fortunately started widening out just a little bit as the afternoon proceeded on. But we executed top to bottom today, and that's what we need to do.
To the left, Joe.
Joe Menzer, FoxSports.com. Jimmie, could you kind of explain what exactly went wrong with the fluid delivery system, or whatever it's called?
Yeah,
and how were you feeling in the car as the race was going on?
I don't know exactly why it wasn't working, but I have a button, and there's an electric motor that pushes my Gatorade, to a bite valve that I have in my helmet, and I'd push the button and nothing happened. So I don't know why or what failed, but it happened. I guess we had a caution lap 3 or something. I pointed out to my guys that my drink system wasn't working, so I just didn't have any fluids. In stage 1 and 2, they handed me a small bottle of Gatorade, which I drank. But the 160 laps at the end or whatever it was, I didn't have any fluids at all in the car, and I knew I was warm, but I didn't feel too bad. When I caught Joey and was racing with Joey, I started cramping pretty good on my left side, my chest and my bicep, my forearm, and I knew I was real low on fluids. And I got out of the car and I was okay, certainly hot, but then again when I started doing some other interviews in Victory Lane, big muscles started cramping, and I knew I needed to go get some IV then, some fluids. Thanks.
Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Why don't you think that this race fit into your wheelhouse, considering you're a guy who's known for great car control and adapting to conditions?
I just feel like the rougher the track, the more porous the surface, it just falls into my upbringing and slipping and sliding a car around. And when you have a repave and the car slides, you usually can't catch it. It's usually a much tighter window for car control. And just my own history in just calling myself on it, I don't feel like Michigan when it was repaved, Charlotte, what else is there? Kentucky. I'm not the guy at those tracks for whatever reason. So to have, and we unloaded and we're decent, and then clearly ended yesterday very happy with our car. I was like, all right, cool. We've kind of figured it out. So it was a bit of a surprise to me. I expected Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott, somebody like that, to win their first race today.
Come down to the front, Brant.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. With the adventurous route that you sort of took from Friday, to get to victory lane, did this ever feel like a vintage Jimmie, vintage Jimmie Texas weekend where it was just locked in the zone, no one's going to get you?
I wanted to believe that, and I felt like we were really in the zone with the car and the communication we were having, and making the car faster. But track position, I thought we were going to be totally, out of luck with track position today. And to be able to, pass as many cars as we did was out of the ordinary. It's really treacherous out there, very slick. You don't have a second lane to work. That deep in traffic, the car is not comfortable at all, and hard to produce speed. So I'm really, really surprised, and then also impressed with the car we built and created that could handle those conditions.
Come down to the front, Holly.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
I asked Chad the same question, but what is it about you that when things are kind of stacked against you, like at Homestead, starting last in the field, that you're able to come back? Today, you also had to have a similar thing. What is it, do you think, that it's about you that you're able to not only overcome, but, overcome in victory lane? I mean, not just a little bit, but so dramatically.
I don't know. There certainly is a mindset that works for everyone, and for me, much more on the reserve side has always paid off for me. And maybe the environment at Homestead, kind of re-racking things and keeping me under control was good. Today, was good. I feel like at times when I start up front, or we've had a dominant weekend, you're kind of expected to perform, and you can try too hard easily in this sport. So I don't know. I feel like there might be, I don't know exactly, but maybe there is something in kind of just being knocked down a notch and like, okay, this is going to be a working man's day. We're going to have to fight through a lot, stay calm, identify with 100%. As it's very easy to step over that line and bust your butt. From a pit call and being too aggressive on pit lane in the car, passing other cars like we did today. I had to be so patient. And in the end, the patience kind of, paid off for me.
Back to Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I assume you're fairly particular about what's in your fluid system. So when you're not getting it, how angry are you? I mean, like, are you as angry or worked up as like maybe last week at Martinsville when you were at some drivers? I mean, does it reach that level of frustration or worry?
I didn't really say much about it. I was so happy the car was running good and we weren't making mistakes. I kind of overlooked it all. And until I was dogging Joey and had my left side kind of cramp up, then I was like, oh, I'm pretty far behind on fluids to cramp like that. So that was my first warning sign. I knew I was hot. I knew it was an aggressive race. I knew my heart rate was high, all those things. But I didn't think I was in any trouble until I cramped, and it was pretty close to the end of the race. So I'm like, I can make it from here.
Come down to your right, Pete.
Pete Horonis, Race Talk. That was actually going to be my question. Was at any point in time, did you think, man, I'm going to have to take this thing to pit road and get out of this thing?
No, it never crossed my mind. There was one race I ran in the Grand Am Series that I just ran out of energy and couldn't push the brake pedal to stop the car when I was racing in a 6-hour race at Daytona. And that's the only time that I've experienced something like that and had to get out.
Let's go to the center.
Scott Tilley with the Flash List. This track is notorious for not a lot of cautions, and you were guaranteed at least 3 with competition, plus 2 stages. Do you think that really helped you able to come up through the field?
Not really. I mean, that first stage we had to start last, and then the way strategy played out for the second stage, and we elected to stay out, and virtually the whole field came down for tires and fuel, and that rotated me back to 21st, I think it was, on the next restart. So we didn't have any luck with strategy stages, the cautions where they fell. was pretty tough on us, to be honest. We had to do it the old-fashioned way.
Go to Jerry.
Hey, Jimmy, you got an off week coming up and then going into Bristol. You got any big plans for the off week? And also, Bristol, you only got one win at it, I believe, but talk about this momentum going into to a short track like that.
Yeah, it won't hurt. Momentum's so powerful in either direction, if it's for you or against you, so we're excited about that. Taking a trip to, since we're so close to the border, we're going down into Mexico tomorrow. Taking a little Easter trip with some friends, and definitely get into some margaritas and some chips and guacamole. And a sunburn. I doubt I'll be tan when I come back. I'm either red or white, so I'll show up with a nice sunburn in Bristol.
Come down the front. Jim?
JimMutterMotorsport.com. Were you surprised at all? A lot of people thought when you got in position on the final restart that maybe Joey would be sort of a sitting duck, that it took you as long as it did for you to get around him. And then once you did, he didn't really go away. He kind of stayed relatively close, and he said, I thought that I was even in a position where if he had made a mistake, I could have maybe had another chance at getting back in the lead.
Yeah, I was really surprised catching the 4 as I did, and then also the 22 that I couldn't get by them any better. I mean, I passed every other car out there multiple times with ease. And even those 2 cars I've made competitive passes on at different points in the race. But when they were the lead car, they were just, unfortunately, still at a pretty big advantage. And then I was just managing my gap once I got the lead. I didn't want to have a nice lead and have a caution come out.
Where you're right, Matt?
Matt Kreider, Denton Record Chronicle. You've talked about how repaves typically go, but now that you've run 500 miles, what's your overall impression of this track and specifically the reconfigured turns?
I think it's going to be really fun when it widens out. I don't know why it was as difficult to create multiple lanes as it was. You know, Tire Monster ran again last night. We still really never got that second lane in. It was drivable finally, kind of midway point of the race on. But I'm really excited for when we come back and we actually run the middle to the high side in 1 and 2. The way we turn into turn 1 right now, it's so different than it's ever been here. And I think it's really the slowest way around here. Once we can run the second to third lane, I think we can come close to running wide open around 1 and 2. And right now it's actually, you're out of the throttle pretty early just after the start-finish line and on the brakes to make such a tight radius with how they widen the track out to the bottom. So I think we'd want to run the natural line and go in there and use more of the banking up higher. So I think the track will change a lot in the next 4 to 6 trips that we come here, and it's only going to get better.
Any other questions? Jimmy, thanks a lot for taking the time. Congratulations.
everybody.